We're joined now by Coach Lesley. Questions for Coach. Greg Hunter.
Jordan, start off with Taiki Smith. What has made him a good player last year, this year? How's he fit into the scheme?
He's a combination of a cover guy and a physical linebacker, which is really kind of in that position what we look for. The biggest improvement I've seen Taiki from year one to year two is fundamentally plays off blocks. His tackling in space is tenfold better than what it was last year, and he's gotten better in coverage and understanding the coverage and how it matches, and so he's one of our best players.
Go ahead, Cody.
Hey, Jordan. So before this season, there was talk that Oklahoma might have the best offensive line in the country. Have you seen that? I mean, obviously, Humphrey gets a lot of attention, but what does their O-line look like this year?
What do they look like?
I mean, yeah. I mean, are they? Do you think they're in that conversation for best in the country?
Oh, I do. I mean, they're extremely, their size is what it is, but to be that size and their length, they're extremely athletic. Humphrey is the best center that we've played this year. This will be the best offensive line we've played. They're not really exotic or they don't really do just a whole lot. They're good at what they do. And man, those guys are hard. At the end of the day, guys that size, you got to get around them. So yeah, it's a challenge.
John Antonic.
Coach, what's Stevenson bringing to them that they didn't have early in the season? Obviously, the size is the thing that jumps out at you. And I don't know if they've had to use him much in the fourth quarter because they've gotten these big leads so early.
Well, I mean, he's a guy that, to be honest with you, all of them. But he's a guy that you can fit everything right. You still got to tackle that guy. So, where there's a number of clips on film where guys are in position and he does what he does and uses his skill set to run over guys, run through guys. And so, that's what that's his game. It's what he brings. And then, and obviously you go back and watch the film from the other night, he can catch the ball. So that brings a whole nother deal into it.
Go ahead, Kevin Kinder.
Coach, Oklahoma, most games, has one or two plays that you could call trick plays or gadgets or whatever. Because you haven't seen those, obviously, you can't show them to your players on film. So how do you try to prepare them to say, hey, you've got to watch this and this and this, and realize that's a tough task to say, hey, look at everything on every play. But, how do you try to coach against that?
I mean, you just have to recognize something in the formation that may give it away. You have to be aware the time of the game, where the ball is, an oddity in the personnel being where the pieces are, which is really just what I said about formation. But it's coming. It's not going to be something that you've seen. So you just have to awareness is the biggest thing, to know that it is coming, and your key is still your key, and keep your eyes where they need to be and keep them where they need to be.
Next is Mike Kazaza.
Hey, Jordan, how's it going?
Good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Stogner is more of a tight end than an H-back, but they call these guys H-backs, and apart from him, they're all 6'2", 6'3", like 235. They're not receivers or halfbacks. They're not really the tight ends in the Stogner or Andrews mold. What are they working with there, and how much of an oddity is that for not only that they line up, they actually use them in their offense?
Yeah, I mean, it's really formationally nothing it's really nothing that we haven't seen up to this point, but how they use those guys and disguising where they want to go with their run game, or slipping those guys out. The guys catch the ball really well, so slipping those guys out on boots and screens is that's the toughest part. because what they do in the run game doesn't allow you all the time to key those guys. So who would normally have that guy in a play action bootleg situation, a lot of times you can't put his eyes there because of where his run fit may be. So, it's extremely tough.
Go ahead, Greg.
So, Jordan, in terms of Spencer Rattler, you've seen other running quarterbacks this year, though everybody seems to have their own style, some power, some different. So, how is Rattler different? How hard is he to contain?
He's, as a runner, comparable to other guys in this league. The thing he does better than everybody else up to this point that we've seen is how he throws when he is on the run. In the run game, he does enough to keep you honest. But when he does either designed run and then throw or break the pocket due to the pressure, his accuracy on the run is the best we've seen up to this point.
John?
Curious, Coach, your thoughts on how your defensive backs have been fighting off blocks. I know Neil mentioned yesterday, he said he thought that Stoops did a really good job in blocking and sprung a lot of their big plays last week against Oklahoma State. Is that a point of emphasis for you this week?
Yeah, it's got to be. He does a great job. He's a slot receiver that blocks like a tight end, and his gap counts, in their run game, and you have to account for it. I thought our guys this year, as opposed to last year, that's one of the points of emphasis, particularly on the second and third level, that we had to get better at, and I think we have. But this, especially Stoops and this group as a whole, how they block, man, they do a great job with it. And like I said, his hat counts in that run game as a gap. That's how he blocks, and so he's a slot receiver that can do what slot receivers do and blocks like a tight end.